FedRAMP as we know it, I mean, its days are numbered, right? And this is kind of the future, right? With 20x, right? At all levels. And I think even DoD, we were talking to Karen Lawton, right, about this from Coalfire, how even DoD is looking to, they know, right, that they've got to adapt. It's got to be a better process, right? So that we can get good technology into the hands of everybody in government, right? How do we do that as fast as possible?
Yep. There's a lot of people aligned around that, and just different groups trying to solve it in different ways, right?
Yep.
I've seen a lot of great, passionate, entrepreneurs out there like trying to solve this problem and attack it from every way. You have the detractors and the people who they're just going to hate ATOs and not really offer solutions to it. You get those everywhere. And the ones that, kind of make it clear, like they're not going to respect what you do at all, trying to help people through this process. That's fine, whatever. But the ones that are trying, like there's a large group of people out there without kind of the context of all of these different government philosophies in how to even go about doing this. They only kind of know like one little bit. I haven't really met too many people who have seen the entire scope of all of the things that the government requires of different businesses. So trying to build a scalable solution that works for everyone is incredibly difficult.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the Paramify podcast.
Mike and Kenny in the morning.
Yeah. We got another mic. We like our mics.
We had 2 mics today.
Yeah, go for it, man.
Children of the 80s, just pick like Mike, Brian, Sean, John. There's like 7 of them. Just throw a dart at the wall. You're going to be...
I did have a middle school class with 7 mics.
Yeah.
I couldn't even go by Mike S. It's a tough life. He was born in 1990.
Yeah. So it's aberration.
I went the route of, Mike C, right? A whole bunch of mics. And there's a whole community of people out there that know me as Waffle. That was my call sign in the military for waste of fossil fuel.
Oh.
And it has stuck. So
Waffle is sick, dude.
it sounds cool. That's like the best call signs. They sound cool. And then you hear the story of it and you're like, that's embarrassing. And that's exactly how all of them are supposed to be.
Yeah. I was going to say like DJ Waffle, but that's like no one takes you seriously if you say the word DJ before the name.
Yeah.
DJ Mike, DJ Waffle. Anyway,
so we're here with DJ Waffle, Mike Craig. So Mike has been in a cloud and cybersecurity leader for 15 plus years, founder and CEO at Vanaheim Security, and a specialist in FedRAMP in particular since 2019, done multiple FedRAMP engagements, and just pretty expert across the board in everything strategic planning, executing on FedRAMP, all that kind of stuff.
You could go on and on. Just know that Mike Craig or Waffle has way more degrees than you do.
He has way more degrees than any of you listening.
He has infinitely more
He
degrees
has 4
than
times
you,
as many
actually.
degrees as Kenny and I combined.
Oh, nice.
That is, I guess, true.
There's one between us. I'm carrying it.
That's not what
I'm carrying it.
Rumor has it.
You claim that glory. Yeah.
Thanks for being with us. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah. Flew in here just for this.
I love it. Yeah, and flying right back out. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the hero's journey. So we always love to know how people get into cyber, and kind of what got you to where you are today.
Yeah. I was a Air Force. They started calling us cyber warfare at the beginning of my career, where we made this kind of change from being just regular IT guy to we get this big giant badge that says like I'm more insecure about being called an operator than even the space guys, Buzz Lightyear thing. And cyber warfare became the big buzz, and just sort of Forrest Gumped my way through being in the room of all of these like major milestone events. It was nothing special, just happened to be there doing my thing, and ended up getting out from that, leaving active duty, stayed on reserves, did a couple of Fortune 500s, and started off in incident response. It's a weird way to get into compliance for most people. But what I did was communicate between legal, executive leadership, technical, and one of my degrees that you mentioned is language, right? And so I'm a translator between all of these different business functions that don't normally talk to each other and have a hard time understanding each other in terms of measuring impact and what to do. Across a big global enterprise, I would get woken up in the middle of the night and I needed to know off the top of my head that this healthcare system in Germany was popped. And that means that we can't pull forensics because we got to go through the German Workers' Privacy Council, and they're, a time zone earlier than us. So we have to wait a whole day before we're allowed to even touch it. And I needed to know all of these different regulations across a globe in all of these industries that my employer was in. And I got burnt out doing that.
Weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I got some cool stories from it, but yeah, it was a burnout gig. So then I went to, I got pulled in by a former boss of mine into a company that was called Defense Point, and ended up in government compliance back in kind of the world that I knew after leaving the military. And so from compliance, I started off translating. This is what the bad guys are actually trying to do, and this is why these rules exist. And applying, the worn out phrase of the actual security, right, behind the regulation and compliance that it was trying to accomplish. And that led to systems engineering and architecture to try and prevent the bad guys from doing things. And then what I started to call myself was a compliance architect. I ended up in a role in a multi-cloud system that was getting FedRAMP authorized, Uplift, FedRAMP authorized, DoD IL4, went through it in all the clouds, all 4 of them. And then I left, made my own way, and formed my own thing out of a passion for the little guy who's trying to make it across these humps, and watching the prices, the barriers to entry in the advisory space, the assessing space, and the complexity of navigating the system design to be compliant the first time. As you go through that journey, what I call it is like pathfinding, solution building, assessment prep. Those first 2 sections, you don't have any help. It's only at the creation of documentation that we even start to tell you that's not going to work, or right, and you go back and redesign. So for small businesses trying to get across this hump, wasting 6, I've seen 7 figures in capital, it's a death sentence, right? And it kills innovation and great ideas. So trying to catch them early and make sure that there's a strong business case. But what I tell my clients all the time is eyes wide open, right? You're making an informed decision of what it's going to cost, how long it's going to take before you've seen that return on equity. Maybe FedRAMP's the right path for you right now. And if it is, we'll help you get there. But if not, then that capital is better used elsewhere. And I helped save you a ton of money and potentially a death sentence in that capital allocation.
Have you seen that? Have you seen like a company actually go under because they like
That it's way more common. So if you think of the whole like ecosystem of federal ATOs, right? FedRAMP is just one piece that's in like FedCiv. DoD has its own thing and a whole bunch of its own compliance philosophies and frameworks, and a lack of reciprocity within like the services in particular. So have I seen it in FedRAMP? A lot less common. But what I have seen is like cyber awardees in DoD, where this is their entire funding stream. And when they're trying to go from phase 2 to phase 3, and oh, by the way, you got to use real data now, and you got to get an ATO, it's going to cost you $500,000, and you have a 1.5 million runway that you've already spent, there's no more money coming. It's done.
Oh man, tragic. Play the music, Keaton. That it actually does suck. I feel bad.
It is.
Maybe cut that.
I love I actually love that approach because I think that is one thing, we were talking about it before we started recording, but the whole goal of FedRAMP was to get more software into the hands of government. And it's become kind of for a while was more of like a barrier to entry than an actual help in a lot of ways. Um, and so a lot of companies wouldn't even consider it. And so there's a lot of value, I think, in being able to meet somebody at the very beginning of not just the FedRAMP journey, but the journey of like, should I consider FedRAMP, and give them like educated opinions and things to think about and help them build an ROI to kind of make that decision in the first place.
Yeah. And, the thing I'm most proud of in the 3 years that I've been doing this is that I have a 0% abandonment rate. If they decide to go through FedRAMP, they get all the way. Nobody has stopped once they started.
I love that.
They're just in.
Yeah, very cool.
You're parachuting in.
And your journey into compliance also took you to some unique places, such as starring in a TV show.
Yeah. This was a totally different thing, but it's a really cool approach. I think I can probably use Sigma blocks, is the name of it. But it's a defense combine is what they call it. Industry days in like DoD, GovCon, BD work. Industry days, there's a whole bunch of kind of dog and pony shows, right? A whole bunch of low value. I might be putting my hand in front of your camera. A bunch of high effort, low reward, kind of stuff. On the other side, right, you've got kind of the cyber selection process and the kind of formal, program of record and funding and experimentation in like AFWorks, SoftWorks, all of those functions. But the people with the money are completely separate from the operators that are completely separate from the entrepreneurs. And so the ability of the entrepreneur to get feedback to alter their trajectory or product while it's in development is extremely limited. And then even if the operator loves it, getting it funded and somebody to actually field the thing is an entirely different challenge that we could spend days like draining of how complex that process is, right? So it's a new approach to an old problem where you need the military and the entrepreneurs to talk. You need the operator and the people with the money, the contracting officers, to talk. And getting all three of them together in the same room is kind of difficult when you have to be fair in your evaluations. So was like a 20, 40, I think, down selected dual use entrepreneurs that had, TRL 4 to 6 proven capabilities, brought in the operators. They get to evaluate whether that's going to work. And then they can be selected for funding with the goal of fielding something out of this within the next 12 to 18 months. It was a Indo-PACOM specific problem set that we were dealing with in this iteration of it. But I was one of the coaches, became like the ATO guy, and I was very popular. It was a common problem, and no one really has the resources to know where to go to get across that hump, how to navigate it. The people who were the coaches in this thing is just an absolutely phenomenal group of industry experts across a wide range of stuff. But we had all sorts of great conversations on like advanced manufacturing and CMMC and like how do you get that FIPS wrapper around stuff that's a black box that's going to have CUI engineering data on it. How are you going to navigate that psychology of the get to yes for an ATO for experimental technologies in particular? And that's kind of become one of my niches as well, of like people call me when they got an ATO something weird. One of the ones that we were having conversations about is like putting data centers off planet So orbital data centers with quantum resistant computing. How are we going to ATO a constellation of off-world data centers?
Battle stars.
It's amazing.
Amazing. So, okay. Well, I was
You
gonna
would have to
say,
pay
yeah.
for the water to
wait,
cool them at least, right? That sounds a problem.
Yeah, there's a bunch of benefits, and downsides. Yeah, it's a huge engineering problem. But how are you going to put a FIPS wrapper around that? And right, and when half the the whole hemisphere of the planet can see your data transmissions, the confidentiality and integrity, is
Yeah,
different.
availability.
It's tricky,
You
yeah.
have a whole new family for galactic radiation, right? That you would have to add.
That's one of the many
One of the many.
challenges.
So galactic radiation, aliens.
Yeah.
You also have those. So is this TV show? Is this going to be on Netflix? Where can we watch
No,
it?
no. It's for
shoot.
DoD audiences, but
Dang.
it was
It sounds interesting.
it is modified from a TV show that does exist called Beta Blocks that you can go watch, and it was just a really cool concept and experiment, and we'll see whether these entrepreneurs end up getting down selected as to how effective it actually was, but if so, it's really neat.
Yeah.
It sounds like incredibly intricate, right? This whole path of getting a sponsorship. It's been hard. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's kind of one of the areas that you have some experience in.
Yeah,
Let's back up to pre-Waterman. This is the Pete Waterman fan club in here,
P. Waterman fan
right?
club.
Hey, what's up, Pete? Hi. Okay.
Or should we say Homeschool Boy 11?
Hello again.
Homeschool Boy 11. We knew.
We sat next to each other in DHS HQ many years ago when his first tour in the digital service, and that's how I knew him then. We haven't spoken since, but
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sure he's gonna.
So you were the founding
he's-
member of the Pete Waterman fan club.
He's gonna give
Fair
you
enough.
a shout. Yeah, we didn't know. We became fans of him when Homeschool Boy 11 subscribed to the Paramify podcast, and we're like, we've made it. And then we met him in person, and it was just great. So I wonder if this was pre-activist Pete Waterman, or was he I don't know, because he has obviously changed things in a huge way. But okay, I want to go pre-Pete Waterman. Way back. We're back. Okay. It's like Rev 5 time, and FedRAMP is really fun, right? Tell us a little bit about getting a sponsor back in the day. What is that like?
yeah. So when you're thinking about your BD and your government go-to-market plan, I get a bunch of clients that have no federalization in their business to speak of right now.
For
So,
example,
Uh,
just you don't have to give the name.
it's just all commercial.
all
Right?
commercial.
Just all commercial. They have no federal book of business whatsoever.
None.
How do you get started, right? So you have two options. Both of them are terrible, right? One, right? This is especially true for businesses that have a model of selling inside the ecosystem, right? That their product does not necessarily have a direct sale and value prop to government agencies directly, but they could sell and help the rest of the FedRAMP ecosystem, except you can't, because your only option is to get a sponsor and have a direct government down select contract flow down. So you got to find a government agency that will buy your stuff. I can't remember if it was pre-Pete Waterman that FedRAMP website started putting up stats of ATO approvals and sponsorships. I can't remember. It was right around the time that Pete came on board, so we are in the Wayback Machine beforehand, and I might be breaking the rules. But that was great when FedRAMP did that, because I used to have to try and pull all of those stats manually through word of mouth and ad hoc, right, to figure out the healthcare one is one of the best ones to use because it's just such a narrow set. So if you look on the website, right, HHS as a whole, if you're a healthcare SaaS in some way, shape, or form, HHS has sponsored, it was something last I looked 175 in total, and then
A lot. They even did
and then-
Adobe.
Yeah,
recently what's their name, like,
yeah, and the VA is kind of your other government agency for a direct kind of sale of that market segment, and they did like 3. So, if you're trying to get a sponsorship inside of doing BD development, which one do you target first, right? That sort of stat matters a lot when you have limited choices and you're a small business or trying to get started, right? Because it's just so much relationship investment to shape the contract in the first place and get included in, this upcoming RFP. Because if you are writing for the RFP that's posted on sam.gov, like you are way too late in this game. So all of that is precious resources for a small staffed business, and you got to make them count, right? So those stats were a huge help, in me trying to pass clients like as to where to start. But you had to, get that downflow sponsorship, or you take a risk and you dive into the deep end head first, hope that the lifeguard is there to catch you at the end, right? You go through a full scope assessment. Everybody does your first time through an initial FedRAMP. That comes at a higher cost. 3PAOs charge per control, right? And the scope and size of the overlay. So you've got to get the full scope 3PAO assessment, and then you had 12 months to sit at that FedRAMP Ready state on the website and hope somebody picks you up in that time frame. If you don't find a sponsor, then instead of doing the annual core and annual controls, you're paying for an entirely new assessment because all of your evidence had expired. Control freshness used to be the term that the PMO would use. And
it's a good term.
yeah, so all of that expired, and your milk went sour, and you had to do it all over again. And each of these, things is going to cost you $150K at an absolute minimum. And again, if you're a small business trying to get through this, you can't continuously eat, 150 grand, 300K for the first time and not have any kind of ROI even foreseeable in the runway, right? Let alone get onboarded, get paid, all of that other stuff that comes with the eventual requirement of sponsorship. So your options were bad. They're bad. And so 20X, is looking to change that in big ways. We're starting in low, and eventually I anticipate work our way up.
It's our understanding. They have talked to several people that think that, yeah, like FedRAMP as we know it, I mean, its days are numbered, right? And this is kind of the future, right? With 20X, right? At all levels. And I think even DoD, we were talking to Karen Lawton, right, about this from Coalfire, how even DoD is looking to, they know, right, that they've got to adapt. It's got to be a better process, right? So that we can get good technology into the hands of everybody in government, right? How do we do that as fast as possible?
Yep. Yep. There's a lot of people aligned around that, and just different groups trying to solve it in different ways, right?
Yep.
I've seen a lot of great, passionate, entrepreneurs out there like trying to solve this problem and attack it from every way. You have the detractors and the people who they're just going to hate ATOs and not really offer solutions to it. You get those everywhere, but and the ones that kind of make it clear like they're not going to respect what you do at all, trying to help people through this process. That's fine, whatever. But the ones that are trying, like, there's a large group of people out there without kind of the context of all of these different government philosophies in how to even go about doing this. Uh, they only kind of know like one little bit. That I haven't really met too many people who have seen the entire scope of all of the things that the government requires of different businesses. So trying to build a scalable solution that works for everyone is incredibly difficult, let alone get through the GovCon piece to like get it funded.
That's an interesting point. We always grapple with maximum flexibility, but if it's too flexible, it becomes super useless, right? So making something that's useful yet flexible at the same time is not it's just a creative challenge, right? A science challenge too at the
Yeah.
same time,
Yeah.
right?
As you know, as I was talking to people about ATOs nonstop for like 96 hours, um,
Must see TV. Come on, for us, for the Pete Waterman Club, like, oh man, we're eating it up.
We're gonna have a movie night.
I finally I feel like I finally got like an explanation that starts to resonate, right? So you have the at the bottom or top, whichever one we want to start in, layer of the sandwich. You have compliance philosophy, and it's not a term that you probably thought exists, but I am super nerdy, so let's talk compliance philosophy for a minute. Is the scope of the boundary, right? Of what is in scope and what do we even care about to put things in and out of the boundary. And there are different archetypal constructs. I'm going to use big word nerdy terms in the government. Approach it in wildly different ways, right? And that doesn't seem like it should create the level of effect that it does, but it's all the way at the shift left, all the way at the beginning of how we think about what's in scope. And CMMC and FedRAMP are a great comparison where CMMC says anything, uh, you show me your entire business flow, we'll tell you where the CUI is and we'll tell you what's in scope. Anything that CUI touches, FIPS wrapper or not, is in scope, right?
Everything the CUI touches is our kingdom.
Exactly. And FedRAMP then says, like other kind of ATO constructs, says, show me your infrastructure. We'll tell you whether you're allowed to put our data in it or not. Those two things have wildly different impacts and implications on architecture, scope, cost, right? To get through this. So you have the rules of the road inside of the compliance philosophy that you choose and which one you need as required per contract, CMMC or FedRAMP or DISA ILX, right? All of those. And then we have the parts in the middle. Like that's where Paramify plays it's all based off of NIST 800-171, NIST 853. Those are scopable. It is kind of the same or very similar, right? But then at the top, or whichever direction we started from, there's the psychology of the ATO. And there's the resistance to saying yes to technologies that, as an AO, I might not fully understand, or as staff of an AO, I might not recommend, right? So there's the people part that is just completely unalgorithmable. And that's why it's difficult for, companies like you to algorithmatize the entire thing, right? And it creates such a challenging problem. And these constructs where people become experts in one piece, but when you start getting into multi-compliance or figuring out which philosophy is going to work to your best growth advantage, right? You can get an ATO in this one, accelerator platform, in this one, larger kind of integrated service inside of, DoD. But if you're going to try to sell to both DoD and FedCiv, you're going to get zero reciprocity for that. If you're going to try and sell across services, you're going to get zero reciprocity for that. So is there a different way to get an ATO that might be more strategically advantageous for you, like DISA ILX? And if you're doing DISA ILX, then you got to go through FedRAMP because it's FedRAMP Plus. So it's not intuitive at all that we be talking about you selling to this customer that wants your thing right now to then say, maybe you should consider FedRAMP, but actually it makes the most sense in some cases. And that's the kind of stuff that I try and help my clients through.
I love that.
I love it. We talk all the time about how often people just abdicate that whole first step of the process and don't spend the actual time needed to go through strategically planning out the process and what's going to fit best and all that. So I think it's huge from the very beginning to take a look at the options, what's good, like you said, the cost, the investment, what's it going to take to get from here to there? Do we have an ROI on the horizon? Like, I think that's super important. Love that you do that for your clients.
Yeah. But then you talk about just the whole scoping exercise, which I feel is still in 2025 quite underappreciated. And so how do you make that process easy? And it's just so crazy how many people can't like really draw a picture of data flows. If you can't do it, well, Jason Ford, right? I love
Our
what he
favorite
says.
close, yeah.
Yeah, he says if you can't draw it, you can't secure it, right? If you can't draw a picture of it, and
with a crayon.
right,
That's kind of my addition on it, right? Because I work with I translate between business leadership, legal, engineers. I can tell who made the diagram, right? It's this kind of complicated spaghetti chart. It's incredibly detailed. You got to zoom in really far, like to see the detail in it. They're great at what they do, but it doesn't communicate well
exactly.
to your non-technical audience. We're gonna drop some hot takes here.
Okay.
Let's do it.
The best diagramming tool in federal cybersecurity compliance is PowerPoint.
Whoa.
That is
PowerPoint.
That is a hot.
It does not lock you in for like nested boxes when you're trying to draw subnets and stuff. And then the client doesn't know what they were going to build. You're designing whilst diagramming, whilst starting documentation. And so you can rapidly make changes, and I can do it on a phone call, in my head. And now I'm changing bits in a PowerPoint that don't have all of those like nested layers that messes all your formatting up. Hot take.
Yeah, I love it. I don't love PowerPoint.
No one loves PowerPoint. That's not what I said. You're twisting my words.
But I do. No, that's true. I get it. A simple way just to yeah, I get it. 100%. And that's kind of the approach we took as well.
Yep.
Which is, FigJam was great for us.
Yeah.
Just pew, 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 pew. And then they're like, "Hey, where is that? Is that inside the boundary?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" Like I'm just drawing a picture of the thing, right? It's not like, gosh, come on. It's not even technical. Like, oh. Anyways, I hate that. I remember, what was it? I've had clients because I've had lots of different kinds of clients now, that are at the highest levels, DoD IL6 and DISA ILX, whatever it is, and FedRAMP Ready. And I just remember, they'd worked really hard in Lucid to build out these pretty good diagrams, and they're like, "Oh, we have to move this out because it's not FedRAMP." Like, this is at the time. They're a FedRAMP moderate now.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. But like, still, it's so funny how they had to take those out and move them into draw.io, and I'm like, how do you like update it? No, we used to update it all the time when it was easy. It's like cloud-based. But now it's like hard because it's like you have a Google Drive and a sync and
That's you get locked in. That's the hot take. PowerPoint's the best one. I draw them and I submit the packages with PowerPoint and as a solid PDF.
we have a license
What we do?
in I have it right.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Embarrassing prototype of Paramify was built in Microsoft Excel, right? And then quickly I moved it to Google Sheets after a while because everybody had Google Sheets and it was easy, right? But I majored in Excel, and so I love Excel
Yeah.
so much. Like, it's weird. In fact, I was referring to it yesterday.
That's a very millennial thing, elder millennial thing.
Yeah.
That where like I've got like my oldest kid is 19 and like working for me now and never touched Windows, any Office Suite, anything up to this point, right? Until coming to work for me, and it was an eye-opening experience and a frustrating one to have to learn functions and like, look, you get good at it, I know all the shortcuts.
Yeah.
Pump it out. Yeah.
Picture your VLOOKUP right there. Yeah. It was so sick. with like your dim VBA like script in there. So, oh my gosh, that was sick. Can you do that again? Just kidding. All right.
I love it.
Oh, good. Excel nerds, you should be pointing. This is the
We are
Excel
showing
nerds.
our age. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pulling up my tube socks.
No, they're back in.
Tube socks?
Ankle socks are for old people now. My kids
I know.
let me know as I left the house in ankle socks.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Ankle socks are out.
But they are objectively bad.
They will come back.
They will.
They will be ours.
I'll tell you though about the internet and aging, since we'll get philosophical here. One of the best parts about being a parent in the internet age is that I can follow what the kids are saying,
Right.
right? Before my kids are saying it. So by the time it makes it to my kids' school, their dad is already using it.
No cap.
I instantly made it uncool before it was cool in a this meta.
I'm rizzing up your mom. Get out of here.
Exactly.
I'm rizzing up your mom. Get out.
No cap, man.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
cap.
Fam. No cap fam.
Yeah, no cap, fam. Yeah. Tax me.
It's been one of my proudest parenting moments was when they start to hear the cool kids using the new slang, and dad has been using it at home embarrassingly already.
And we're using it here.
That is a super dad move. I respect.
But they will never listen to this, so we can talk about it, and they will never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to worry about giving out your secrets here, but this is a compliance podcast, so
If they're listening, they're on our side.
That's true. I mean, your son is working for you. Impressive. Impresionante. Oh my gosh, that's cool. I tried to get my kid to work for him, and then he's like, I'm leaving for 2 years. I'm going to
He
Cincinnati.
did work for us.
Just
He was assistant to the regional manager.
He was assistant to the regional manager. That's true. He did a good job on drinks. Actually, Zach, you got us these.
This podcast is brought to you by Zach and the drinks he stocked.
And zero sugar Mountain Dew. I was thinking that Mountain Dew should just go full reverse and go full sugar Mountain Dew.
I think that's what Code Red was.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Coach. So nasty. Oh my gosh. Diabetes.
Yeah.
In a can. That's awesome.
I love it.
All right.
I have a question back on the FedRAMP topic. So you've been in this for a while. It's kind of obligatory at this point. Let's talk 20X. Changes you like, changes you don't like. You seem optimistic about it. We're obviously optimistic about it. But talk to me about FedRAMP 20X.
Yeah. Scalability is going to be a problem. FedRAMP PMO just took the cuts like, the rest of the Doge staff, and P. Waterman fan club here still doing fantastic stuff, kind of in spite of the headwinds. The old process, of approvals, if you're going to enact that vision, you're going to have some kind of scalability, but I don't think anybody is going to allow humans out of the loop, right? So with reduced human staff and dramatically, exponentially, logarithmically increased demands, how are you going to keep the approval process moving, at speed that is going to be demanded in the market now? And I think that's going to be a huge growing pain as, these really ramp up. And, meanwhile, like they've got kind of a technology and workflow across government issues, kind of with all of that, where we've got rid of the jab, right? One of the things kind of that I told my clients is like, that's a double-edged sword, right? Is, yeah, you lost that bottleneck, true. And it's back out to the agencies, but remember that 20% psychology to yes, just all of a sudden dramatically increased in the multiverse of different decisions, and it became way harder to predict who's going to say this is allowed to stay in the boundary and you got to cut this out and all this, especially new tech, right? trying to get that across the line to where there's a common sight picture of how we're going to think about this risk. Even if you don't agree with it, at least it's known and quantifiable. So as we're trying to do, LLM models, but the significant change request limitations that stop you from bringing in new data sources. So if you're trying to build a bunch of rags in here that create custom data sources for your government client to be usable, you need to be changing the data sources out, and you can't do it inside of the FedRAMP construct. So you gotta move those to like someplace not FedRAMPed. You can put it in GovCloud, maybe, but it can't be in the FedRAMP boundary. So how are you going to allow these queries to go out to the non-FedRAMP space when that's also a restriction? So and as the data needs grow and shift more rapidly, the significant change process is going to be, a huge thing, which is also going away, or right, is modifying in 20x, sure, but the approval of the change is going to cause just as much of a scalability issue as the approval of the package in the first place.
Yeah, that's super terrible. But you mentioned getting rid of the jab, but talk about, and I like how you mentioned how complicated, I guess, because of the human element. So I dealt with the jab, right? Everybody has, and well-meaning. The mission was very clear. This, if it's gone through the jab, it's gone through Fort Knox, right? And it's, you can rely on that, and there's a lot of assurance that agencies can get. But the process was sometimes like, the answer changed depending on the person you talk to, on the day you talk to them, and that's really hard to deal with. And you're also mentioning
That
boundary,
didn't go away, right?
right?
That actually just got worse.
It just got worse,
Right.
right? It got worse. And so I have my thoughts on how I would recommend dealing with that uncertainty. And this is just, I'll just say it, and then I'd want to get your thoughts on this too. It goes back to what you first said, is that philosophy and that boundary, establishing the boundary at the very beginning. You can't just say arbitrarily, oh, well, we don't really care about that. That's not that important. If the data goes there, guess what? It's in discussion. You need to make sure that you have the proper security for that particular component that it's touching. So the data is what determines the risk, and your risk profile could change in different stacks, right? So you might have a standard. Most time, what we do is we apply what we'll call the standard CIA risk profile to every stack that comes in. And that makes it really easy for us to understand, okay, so we have these risk categories and families, and then we have these solution parameters that we're selecting within there. So what is the solution parameter for SSO, right? What are you using? And those fit into those risk categories. And so we have this standard, it looks like a little hexagon, right? We have this standard CIA profile. But sometimes in some enclaves, you might just say, oh, we only care about confidentiality. So for like QE and CMMC, that risk profile, we don't care so much about availability. So we might not have like the backup and the redundancy thing that we care about. And so that can simplify things a little bit. However, the way we do it is we just say, hey, let's just apply and make a risk decision for the entire CIA profile. I don't know. I'd have to show everybody what I'm talking about, but that makes it easier for me. So if I can say, hey, here's the data coming in. Is that data important? It doesn't matter. It's in here. Apply the risk profile there. And if you don't have a certain capability, maybe no sweat, because it's only like low impact data that's coming here. However, if it's high impact data, you know exactly where to tweak that little knob and say, hey, we need to make sure that we have a better answer for file integrity, not only file integrity monitoring, but file integrity protection. That when this changes, that we're immediately overriding it with like a gold image or something like that. That's going to be sophisticated solution parameters that you're setting, in certain environments. But it's good to know at the very beginning, where you are in each environment, and just be clear. We see, I mean, in my generation, like if anybody went to college, a lot of us went to college, a lot of us did, and finished.
Went to college.
But we finished.
I'm
We
still
honor
going to college. I loved it so much.
Your mom goes. Okay. All right.
Your mom goes to college.com.
Check it out.
I think I won't. Yeah.
Don't worry, Rouse to Paramify.
Man, you were playing 4D chess when you selected that.
I was.
Shut up, Todd. Thanks, Tiago. All right. There's a lot of inside jokes there. Okay. I totally lost track, but yeah, you apply that particular risk profile everywhere, and it's good to know where you stand, and don't worry about if you don't have something yet. It's just good to know if you don't have a capability. And so we want to make that just really easy to do. Anyway, I actually didn't connect that really well. I'm sorry about that. Did you follow? Did anybody follow? Sorry.
Maybe I do my own Wayback Machine and play it back for you. Let it.
Before the bad jokes.
Are we? So are you suggesting like a multi-zonal risk profile within the same boundary?
Yeah. So for example, I look at it like this. Okay, so at Paramify, we have they're growing, but we have like 4 stacks. So the first stack is just, the employee stack, right? Where we get, birthright access, we get our Google Workspace account, we get our Rippling, we get our device, we put like an annoying thing that Keaton has to like wiggle his finger, which he got an exception because he doesn't have access to our GovOps boundary, right? Or our TechOps boundary. He doesn't have access to that, so it's okay that he doesn't have that particular solution on his. So we have that corporate boundary, and then we have a dev boundary. Not everybody gets access to that. It has certain restrictions, but you need devs to be able to be flexible, But then once you're getting into the infosec boundary and the management plane, that's different. And then you have you have the TechOps boundary after that, where you're getting access to push things into production, and that's going to have access to the customer data. So at each stack, there's different expectations for the CIA risk profile, right? But it's known. So for example, getting into the corporate boundary, we might be using just Google Authenticator for our MFA. But however, when we're going into something else, we're going to be using FIPS encryption and Okta, right? Something like that, right? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And different compliance archetypes, philosophies, like also approach that your development pipeline differently of lower environments, right? And that concept, is it in boundary? You have to put it on the diagram in FedRAMP. Some don't care about it at all.
Right.
And how are you, software supply chain, is all kind of attempting to get at that. But there's no cohesive solution across these different government governance requirements, right?
So how do you solve for that then? Like how are you recommending to your people right there?
So I'll take a zero trust approach where we have the chance, just because it's going to limit that splash damage. In terms of where we go from a compliance, scalable compliance assurance, I think the answer is in the ability to articulate data and know what data you have, which the security industry kind of as a whole does bad at, right? So until we have those capabilities to catch up, we're going to be dealing with this problem. AI is making it worse faster, right? It's increasing the speed of the difficulty, but the challenges remain the same. So that's one piece. The other piece is articulating risk around controls that we care about. right? The weight system that we're trying to implement, now that white papers have been, pushed out on, it hasn't really been implemented in practice for a lot of reasons, but I think you're going to get a lack of agreement from that like psychology of yes piece. Uh, and risk profiles around technology stacks, like you were kind of getting at before your tangents, where where if we can say this is where kind of having that whole of government experience in all of the different compliance frameworks out there, NSA has taken a totally different approach in the classified solutions for commercial CSFC. I was one of the first 3PAO assessors. I also do that too. That wasn't mentioned, but I think I was one of the only ones that was a FedRAMP 3PAO assessor who has done a CSFC assessment. But it's okay. Yeah. So NSA has taken a totally different approach where they have said, okay, we will give you the ability to project classified information from IL6 cloud into unclassified devices on like a wide area campus in some use cases, but being like the coming from that like crypto officer like background, if you have like that SIPR laptop, you got to lock it up. It's got to be behind the X09 lock. It's got to like do all this stuff. If you can create a virtualized application on an unclassed device that can project classified information onto it, then like that's awesome, because once it's wiped, and the NSA has approved this, once it's wiped, it is no longer classified. That's a game-changing capability. But the only way you can get CSFC authorized is building a very explicitly defined stack of exactly these things. There's a handful of different vendors who are capable of doing it, but you must build it exactly this way. And then it goes through, it was something more on the order of like 1,000-point assessment versus, the like 400 controls at high.
So it's like the full catalog almost.
Yeah. But like if the FedRAMP PMO gets to a point where we're able to say, okay, if you've got an LLM and RAG stack, this is how we want to see it done. If you have this type of use case, this is how we want to see it done, right? And we're able to get to that kind of definition, then we're able to put out, right, the ideal like risk profile that's going to get you through fastest, right? So there is an opportunity for that.
And it's August 13th. This has got to be an RFC. What are we on? Are we still on RFC 12? I should know. What are we? RFC 12?
There was one that just came out a couple days ago.
So RFC 14.
I forget which one it was.
That's the one that we'll code name it Waffle.
He can. Pete. Hello again.
Yeah.
Call it Waffle.
Yeah. RFC 14 Waffle. It's taken. It's taken. You can't do it anymore, dude. Man, this has been super nerdy, and I freaking love it.
That's
man.
kind of my main jam.
Yeah. This is awesome. But dude, you have a 19-year-old that's working for you, so you can't be that bad, right? It's kind of cool, right? Even if he is related to you, your progeny, right? So it's okay. All right. Well, tell us, tell the audience where we can find out more about you and Vanaheim.
Yeah, VanaheimSecurity.com. So it's the name is kind of a fun story, and since I have a longer medium to be able to talk about it, it's in the world tree in Norse mythology. So thanks to Disney, everybody knows about Norse mythology now. If you look out in like security company names, it's all like Greek. It's knights, shields, stuff like that, right? Pretty saturated. But nobody really talks about Norse mythology, and there's some cool stuff in there. So Vanaheim is the home of the Vanir. They were one of the conquested realms by Asgard to create the realms of the world tree. They made a deal where don't kill us, but we will be advisors to Asgard, and they're known for being very wise. So as a consulting company, it's the home of the wise ones. And we help you, right, go out and win. We're just here in the background helping you get there. In exchange, they don't kill me.
I love it.
No one's done it yet. So winning.
That's so good. Picking a name is hard, but that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So VanaheimSecurity.com, info at Vanaheim Security. We'll get you into the response team. Mike.Craig at Vanaheim Security will get you me personally.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's much better than Parampit, huh, Keaton? Yeah.
Paramify was almost Parampit.
No, it wasn't. It was just for like what Parampit. Paramify.com's available. Great. Get it.
We appreciate you coming on. It's great to chat. We'll have to do it again. This is awesome.
This is awesome. Thanks, Mike.
You bet.
Thanks, Mike.